Hello and welcome to this channel. My name is Cindy. I think you can tell that I have a cold today, but I'm still going to push through and review the Klairs Illuminating Supple Blemish Cream. This is a BB cream that, according to Wish Trend, applies thinly, doesn't cake or leave a gray cast, and gives the skin a nice glowy and natural finish. Now, does it live up to those claims? I'm going to tell you later. At this point, I want to talk about the packaging because I do have some issues with it. As I showed you earlier, it comes in this tube, and I really wish there was some sort of pump to help get the product out. When it's full, there's no real issue. You push a little bit, the product comes out, you apply it, perfect. Now that I've been using it, right, I worry that when I push, I can't get the product out easily, right? I have to be really careful about how I push it out and hope that I don't splatter it everywhere. I'm so scared right now, hold on. Okay, like that. So my concern is as it empties out more and more, it's gonna be harder and harder to get the stuff out. Kind of like when you have a tube of toothpaste. So that is my biggest gripe about this packaging. So to show you what this BB cream looks like, I'm going to do my usual review method of applying it to one half of the face first to show you the difference between my bare side and the BB cream side. Then I'll do my whole face and then do the whole long wear test. I usually begin with a very thin layer, and then from there I build up on the spots where I need more coverage. So right now you're only going to see that initial layer. I tried using a beauty blender, but I have found that I much preferred my fingers, which is kind of unusual for me. Usually I'm sort of a blender or an applicator type of girl. This is a definite plus in my book because that means I can just throw it in my purse and I can touch up throughout the day without needing to remember to bring some sort of applicator. It honestly feels like I'm putting on a moisturizer more than anything else. I've been using this product for a few weeks, and even one day I tried to replace my actual moisturizer with it, but that was a terrible idea. I guess my face just needs my oils and my creams. Also, even though this does have SPF in it, I do not recommend relying on this BB cream as a replacement for sunscreen. Please, please, please use sunscreen with this. The results look very glowy when first applied. The coverage is very light, so I do like to build it up over my areas of concern, i.e. my nose, my cheeks, and my under eyes. So now that you see what this first really thin layer looks like, I'm going to go ahead and apply more to basically this whole area to get it to the level of coverage that I want it to be. I will say that it's really easy to kind of blend it out with your fingers. It's not a huge problem. It's not a struggle. Also, I want to say that when you first apply it, as I mentioned before, it's pretty glowy and it sits on top of the skin a little bit, but with time it sinks into the skin much better and turns into more of a satiny finish. So it actually looks better over time. So this is the preferred level of coverage that I enjoy. One of the good things about this is that it doesn't seem to settle into my fine lines under my eyes as much as almost any of the other foundations that I've tried. The only downsides that I can see when looking at my face are that it doesn't necessarily hide all of my skin's texture. You can see my skin and the pores and everything pretty well. And then secondly, if you have a pimple or like these red marks that I have from pimples that are fading, it doesn't hide those very well. It hides my redness very well, but for some reason not those marks. Maybe because they're like a different kind of red, a darker red, not sure. As a word of advice, I would say to wait a few minutes between your skincare and putting on this BB cream, because I found out if I apply it too quickly after, it doesn't play nicely with my creams and the oils that I've applied previously. So I do wait about 5 minutes in between, and during that time usually I just do my eye makeup if I'm putting any eyeshadow on. Now that I have all of my makeup on, since the first application, I want to say it's been about like 20 minutes or so, and I just wanted to show you how it looks now versus the initial application, because I did mention before that it sort of tones down from glowy to satiny. Like, it's not hyper glowy, it's not super wet looking, anything like that. And I wanted to show you in a close-up how it settled onto the skin. So you look how nicely it just like blends into the skin. It is currently 2:08, and as always, I will check in with you guys in a couple of hours to see how this all holds up. But before I go out and live my day, there is something I do need to bring up, and that is the color. As you might have noticed during this whole thing, I have not mentioned what shade I'm wearing. That's because there are no other shades. This is the only color that they have. I've heard that it's the equivalent of a MAC NC 20 to 25. I don't use MAC. What I do have is the ABH Stick Foundation in Cool Beige, and this is supposed to be, according to some website that I found, the equivalent of a MAC NC 25. So I'm going to swatch these to kind of show you the difference between the two, and or how similar they are or whatever. So this one is the ABH. This one is the Blemish Cream. Just gonna rub it out on camera and see if you can tell that way. Okay. So I think you can tell on my arm that this one is a little bit darker. Well, the ABH one. So I would say that the claim that it's between somewhere of an NC 20 and 25 would be correct. So if you're between those two shades, you can wear this, and then everyone else gets left out, and that doesn't make sense to me. Actually, even I can get potentially left out if I end up tanning and getting a deeper shade, or if I end up getting really, really pale for some reason, even paler than I already am, which would be interesting. Then I could not use this product either. I wouldn't be able to go a shade up or a shade down. I would have to just go ahead and buy a completely different product because they don't provide other shades. I think they would have really stood out in the K-Beauty international community with this particular product if they had increased the shade range to be really wide, which is uncommon in South Korean like base makeup. Usually there's only a couple shades available. So if they were one of the few to have a huge variety of shade ranges, they would have done, I think, amazingly, and they would have had like a really large demand, and I think they would have probably influenced what future companies would do when they're looking at creating products with the international community in mind. Okay, yeah, so that was my little spiel about that. Yeah, so I'll see you guys in like a second. It is super hot in Korea right now, so I spent a lot of my day sweating and walking and generally feeling gross. However, my makeup stayed intact. With the exception of where my glasses hit my nose, it's held on fairly well. You can see here it's a little bit of redness. That's from my cold and me like sniffing the whole time, so there's a little bit of a mess going on there. On other days I don't really notice that while wearing this BB cream. And then finally there's super slight, pretty minuscule creasing under the eyes. The foundation like builds up there a little bit. Perfectly fine, not a big deal. Like with other foundations I have to like continuously tap to make sure the product is redistributed correctly, but this one I can get away with not checking in for a while, so pretty awesome. Thanks to all the sweating I've been doing because of the heat, you can see that I'm quite shiny and dewy. However, I'm okay with this kind of look. It doesn't necessarily bother me in any sort of way. If it bothers you, well then this might not be the BB cream for you in the summertime. When I was wearing it in early spring, I didn't feel it get this shiny. And that's all I have for this quick little update. I'll do one more update in the evening, let's say around 11 p.m. It'll be quite late, and at that point I will give you what it looks like at the end of a very long day and I will explain my final thoughts about this BB cream. Okay, we are now at the 11:07 mark right now. I'm super tired. And I think you can tell that I am super shiny right now, especially with this lighting. Let me turn it off for a second so you can see what it looks like without a giant light hanging in my face. Definitely less shiny when the light is not on me. But for the purposes of seeing everything, I'm gonna turn it back on. So as you can see at this point, it has faded. And any place where I had to touch it, it rubbed off pretty easily. Like I had to blow my nose, so of course it's really red here. My chin, I touched it a lot. So those are kind of more or less wiped away. I think I mentioned before that this is supposed to be kind of buildable and easy to blend into the skin. So it actually is really good for touching up the skin throughout the day as well. I'll just show it right now as an example. So as you can see, when you reapply, it basically just refreshes your whole base makeup. So then you can just go about your day, your night, whatever, and live your life. Now that I've touched up my makeup and I don't look like a red smeared mess thanks to, you know, my whole cold situation, I can tell you how I feel overall about this product. I enjoy the finish. That's nice and glowy and yet quite natural on my skin. I like the coverage in that it doesn't feel cakey. It doesn't feel like I'm putting makeup on my skin. It really does feel like I'm putting just like a moisturizer on my skin, and it gives a light to medium coverage. I wouldn't suggest piling it on. I don't think it would look very good that way, but for the kind of coverage that I need, it works really well. I like the longevity of it. So around the 9-hour mark, you have to touch up, but 9 hours is a really long time. And especially the fact that it survived a really hot day like today, I find that to be fairly impressive. The last thing I really enjoy about it is that I happen to have the luck or the privilege of being within the shade that they provide, the only shade that they provide. And for me, it is almost a perfect color match in that when you look at me, I don't think you would notice any sort of line of demarcation on the skin, right? It really does just look like a better version of the skin that I currently have. So the biggest drawback that I see is that the product is not available for anyone that doesn't look like me, and that I think is a problem. So I do hope in the future that this company expands its shade range and becomes more inclusive. And I guess that's it for now. I don't think this video was very entertaining, but I think it was informative. If you found that it was either of the two or both of them, please like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you're not sick like I am, and I hope you're having a wonderful time wherever and whenever you are. I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.